I felt I was being successful when I was winning clients, particularly those who weren't expected to win.
Phil Hesketh,
sales genius.
You're better than anybody else. Persistently over time, you keep banging away on how good you are at what it is that you're doing.
The guy is renowned for being a great speaker. 20 years in the advertising business of helping companies get more business.
Influence comes when you feel, buyer and seller, you're in this thing together, and you can influence someone because you feel like there's genuine interest from the other person.
Well, how does success happen? What's your thoughts on that one?
Well, I've really had two careers, Brad. First of all, a career in advertising, did that nearly 20 years, ran a business, and now 20 years as a speaker. The one thing that they've got in common as a thread, the thing that I would regard as being a success at, is getting new clients. And that for me was always the satisfying thing, that I felt I was being successful when I was winning clients, particularly those who weren't expected to win.
How do you make success happen again and again and again?
The managing director of the agency I worked for approached me about 10 years ago and said, how do we get new business like you used to do it? And I said, well, I can tell you how to do it, but I didn't say this, Brad, but I felt like saying you won't do it because it is constant. It's like always having antenna out. I used to do this thing of show me you know me, and I saw this and I thought of you. Constantly being in touch with potential clients so that over a period of time, sometimes over many years, I used to say to people, I'm on the subs bench, I'm ready when you are. And that for me is the model for getting new business. So many businesses are short of business, so chase some business, have a degree of success and stop doing it. And then there's a bit of a lull, start doing it again. No, it's constant. It is like forever. Yeah. That for me is the model of success.
How does failure teach success in your mind? How do we learn from our failures?
I think you learn from failure if you discover that you hate it. I used to say, running a business, it takes a Herculean effort to win business. Anything less than that is not acceptable. So for me, what failure taught me, little bits of failure, losing an account, not winning an account, all those things, I hated it with a passion.
What's the difference between persuasion and influence?
I think persuasion is something you do to someone. If you ever go home and say, hey, guess what, I've been sold today, you don't feel good about that. So I think persuasion is something you try and do to someone. And we don't like persuasion. Influence is something that you have on people. Influence comes when you feel, buyer and seller, that I call it being in the canoe together. You're in this thing together and you can influence someone because you feel like there's genuine interest from the other person.
How does someone become successful at influencing?
It's all about finding out what the other person wants. What's the most important thing for the other person? What is it that they're after, and then helping them achieve that, and at the same time trying to slowly shift them to your point of view.
How does someone become a questioner? Is that just a natural thing or is it a learned thing?
I think you've got to have a genuine interest in people. It's interesting, if I go back to my time with Procter & Gamble, I learned the 8x7, the 8 steps of the selling call and 7 selling tools. And that's not like that now. We've all wised up. And I often say when I run sessions, if you only remember one thing from this, just ask a question. Yeah. Just if you're in a query, if ask a hypothetical question. But I do think you have to learn it. And then it becomes natural. My 7 psychological drivers, the first 3, as you say, are the most important. We all want to be loved. And by loved, I don't mean hugging and kissing. What I mean is, I know what everybody's clients and customers they want. They want to feel like you truly care. Secondly, we all want to be important. And that doesn't mean, hey, look at me, I'm the most important person. After love and important, we all want to belong. We like to belong to groups. If you can allow the person that you're trying to influence to feel like you truly care, that they are important to you and you belong, then you'll have much more progress. I often talk about the biggest single question you can ever ask in life is, will you marry me? And almost always you get a yes. Why is this? Because you've discussed the future. And you're basically saying, I think my future will be better with you. Do you think your future will be better with me? I love you. You're important to me. We belong. And so that's why they're the three most important fundamental psychological drivers.
How does someone succeed at that? Are there steps to each of those?
The key thing is you've got to truly care, truly want to be interested in your clients, your customers, and so on. But it comes back to this questioning, Brad. You see, if you ask somebody, what's the most important thing to you about the service we're going to provide? What's the most important thing to you about our relationship? Well, automatically the other person feels important. They feel loved, like you truly care. You feel like it's me and you together. Now, there are plenty of other questions, but for me, the most important thing is, what's the most important thing to you about?
Let's dive over to the other four then, because I still think, even though they're not your top three, they're in the seven, so we got to cover it.
Sure, yeah. So they're not really in any particular order after loved, important, belong. People have beliefs. And you have to recognize people have got a strong belief on something. You can't tell them that they're wrong. Then we all want a balance of life in our lives of certainty and uncertainty. So if you're going to watch a rugby match, a cricket match, you're going to the theatre, whatever it might be, you want to be certain you've got a seat. You want to be certain what time it starts. You want to be pretty sure what time it'll finish. You want a certain where you park your car, but you don't want the certainty of outcome. So we like a balance of certainty and uncertainty. And then the final two are, everybody wants growth. We're driven. And then finally, we all want a place. If you are sitting at home tonight, watching television with your significant other, I will bet you sit in the same seat you always sit in.
Yeah.
Why is it? Because we want a place. So those are the 7 things that drive us, Brad.
Let's dive into getting new customers. What are the success factors to getting new customers?
For me, you've got to know who your target market is. And you've got to tap into what it is that you've got to offer that is different to anybody else. Making sure that all your details matter, that you're better than anybody else, and that persistently over time, you keep banging away on how good you are at what it is that you're doing in a way that appeals to that market.
And that's the Big Success Podcast for today. Hopefully you took a lot of notes, learned a whole bunch, and if you need to, go re-listen to it. We dropped a lot of information right there today. Big success is what it's all about. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button so you're here with us every single week on the Big Success Podcast. I'm Brad Sugars. That's BS. Big success is what we're shooting for. Check the show notes for all the links. Make sure you follow through. Keep learning. Keep coming back. Oh, and by the way, share this with any of your friends who you know are up for success. I'll see you next week on the Big Success Podcast.
You've been listening to the Big Success Podcast with the #1 business coach in the world, Brad Sugars. To learn more about how to achieve business and personal success, as well as how to level up or listen to past episodes, visit www.bradsugars.com.